Have you ever felt like you're quietly observing life from a layer deeper than everyone else? Like while other people are reacting to what's happening, you're already sensing what it means, where it's going, and how it's going to emotionally affect everyone involved. You might have spent years thinking you were just too sensitive, too intense, or bad at being normal. But there's a chance your brain is simply wired in a very rare and very specific way. Today we're diving into one of the most talked about personalities in modern psychology, the INFJ personality type, often called the rarest. Myers-Briggs personality type. If you've ever searched things like INFJ personality traits, am I an INFJ? Signs you are an INFJ. INFJ female traits, INFJ male personality, INFJ empathy, or why do INFJs feel misunderstood? This is going to feel uncomfortably accurate. We're breaking down the real psychological patterns, cognitive functions, emotional tendencies, and life experiences that define INFJs on a deep level. Let's get into the 15 shocking signs you're an INFJ. 1. You feel like a walking contradiction. One of the most defining INFJ personality traits is feeling like you are made of opposites. You crave deep connection, but too much social time leaves you drained. You're emotional, but also analytical. You're idealistic, but painfully aware of reality. You're private, yet strangers open up to you instantly. This inner contradiction confuses not only other people, but you. You may have spent years wondering, am I introverted or extroverted? The answer is, socially introverted, emotionally attuned. That's the INFJ paradox. Psychologically, this comes from your cognitive function stack in the MBTI personality system. INFJs lead with introverted intuition, NI, and support it with extrovert feeling, FE. NI is deeply internal, abstract, and future-focused. FE is socially aware, emotionally responsive, and tuned into other people's needs. So you end up being someone who needs solitude to think clearly, but also feels deeply responsible for other people's emotional well-being. That push-pull dynamic can make life feel like you're constantly being stretched between two worlds, your inner universe and everyone else's emotional reality. Many INFJs describe feeling like an old soul, or like they don't fully belong in typical social categories. If you've never fully related to loud extroverts or detached introverts, that's a classic sign you might be an INFJ. 2. You read people like a book, highly intuitive empath. INFJs are often described as empaths, but not just in a trendy, surface-level way. This is deep emotional pattern recognition. You don't just see that someone is smiling. You see the tension in their jaw, the slight delay in their laugh, the shift in their eye contact. You sense when someone is overwhelmed, insecure, jealous, heartbroken, or pretending, even when their words say otherwise. This ability is driven by the combination of extrovert feeling, FE, and introverted intuition, NI. FE scans emotional environments in real time. NI connects subtle behavioral patterns over time. Together, they create an almost eerie accuracy in reading people. You might constantly find yourself searching things like, why do I feel other people's emotions? Why do crowds exhaust me? Or empath INFJ traits. Crowded rooms can feel overwhelming not because you're shy, but because your nervous system is processing dozens of emotional signals at once. This is also why INFJs often become the therapist friend. People feel safe opening up to you because they sense you already understand. You validate emotions naturally, ask thoughtful questions, and rarely judge. The downside: emotional burnout is very real for INFJs who don't learn boundaries. 3. You live in the future more than the present. If your mind were a timeline, most of your mental energy would be spent in the future. INFJs are known for being future-oriented thinkers. You constantly imagine where choices will lead, how relationships will evolve, and what long-term consequences might unfold. This isn't anxiety, it's your dominant function. Introverted intuition, NI, projecting forward. You may struggle with small present moment details like remembering where you put your keys, but you can map out the emotional trajectory of a friendship over the next 5 years. You instinctively think in themes, arcs, and life paths rather than day-to-day logistics. That's why INFJs are often drawn to topics like life purpose, personal growth, long-term goals, and meaning of life. You don't just want a job, you want a calling. You don't just want a relationship, you want a soul-level bond with a shared future vision. People might tell you to stop overthinking or just live in the moment. But for INFJs, meaning comes from seeing the bigger picture. Your brain is wired for long-term insight. For small talk drains you, deep conversation energizes you. Few things exhaust an INFJ faster than repetitive, surface-level small talk. Conversations about weather, gossip, or shallow social scripts can leave you feeling empty and disconnected. It's not that you dislike people, you dislike conversations that feel meaningless. INFJs crave deep conversations about psychology, emotions, philosophy, trauma, dreams, relationships, and human behavior. You want to know what shaped someone, what they fear, what they believe, and what they're struggling with beneath the surface. This preference is driven by Ni's need for depth and Faye's desire for emotional connection. When a conversation stays at the surface, INFJs feel like they're wearing a mask. When it goes deep, they feel alive and engaged. If you've ever typed, "Why do I hate small talk?" or "INFJ deep conversations" into a search bar, this is one of the clearest INFJ personality signs. 5. You feel a strong sense of purpose, even when you can't name it. Many INFJs grow up with a quiet but persistent feeling, "I'm here to do something meaningful." You may not know exactly what that something is yet, but you know a purely materialistic life won't satisfy you. Chasing money, status, or surface success feels hollow if it isn't connected to impact. That's why search terms like INFJ life purpose, best careers for INFJ, and INFJ calling are so common. INFJs are often drawn to careers in psychology, counseling, writing, teaching, social work, art, coaching, humanitarian work, and spiritual or personal development fields. NI creates a long-term vision of who you could become. Faye wants that vision to help people. Together, they create a personality that is deeply purpose-driven. When INFJs feel stuck in meaningless environments, it can lead to burnout, depression, or identity crises, not because they're weak, but because purpose is psychological fuel for them. 6. You're extremely private, but people tell you everything. INFJs are often described as the most private extroverted feelers. You can be warm, open, and emotionally supportive, while still revealing almost nothing about your own inner world. You share in layers, slowly, carefully, and only with people you deeply trust. Yet somehow, coworkers, acquaintances, and even strangers end up telling you their childhood trauma, relationship problems, and life regrets. Why? Because you radiate emotional safety. Your listening style is calm, present, and non-judgmental. You don't interrupt to make things about yourself. You ask thoughtful questions. People feel seen. If you often think, "Why do people tell me their life story?" This is a textbook INFJ experience. Just remember, being a safe place for others doesn't mean you're responsible for carrying their emotional weight alone. 7. You replay social interactions in your head for hours. After a conversation ends, the interaction may be over for everyone else, but in your mind, it's just getting started. INFJs are known for social overthinking. You analyze what you said, how you said it, how the other person reacted, and what it might mean. Did that pause mean they were uncomfortable? Did that joke land wrong? Should you have been more supportive? Less intense? This loop comes from Faye's desire for harmony combined with Ni's pattern analysis. You don't just remember events, you interpret them, searching for hidden meaning. While this makes you socially perceptive, it can also lead to social anxiety, people-pleasing, and emotional exhaustion. Learning to separate real feedback from imagined worst-case scenarios is a major growth step for INFJs. 8. You felt misunderstood for most of your life. A core INFJ experience is the quiet feeling of being different in a way that's hard to explain. You may have felt too deep for some groups, too sensitive for others, too serious, too idealistic, or too emotionally complex. You might have learned early to hide parts of yourself to fit in. Because INFJs process life through intuition, symbolism, and emotional nuance. Your inner world is rich but hard to translate. This can create a lifelong sense of being unseen. Searches like INFJ loneliness, why do I feel misunderstood, and INFJ depression often come from this experience. The turning point for many INFJs is realizing they're not broken, they're wired for depth in a world that often rewards surface-level interaction. 9. You're both idealistic and painfully realistic. INFJs believe in human potential. You believe people can grow, heal, and become better versions of themselves. You imagine healthier relationships, kinder systems, and more compassionate communities. But you're not naive. Your intuition also sees manipulation, selfishness, power dynamics, and emotional immaturity with crystal clarity. This creates a tension between hope and disillusionment. You may go through phases of being deeply inspired about humanity, followed by periods of emotional withdrawal when reality doesn't match your ideals. This emotional whiplash is common for INFJs who care deeply but see clearly. 10. You absorb stress and emotions from others. Because of your strong empathy, other people's emotional states don't just stay theirs. They register in your body. If someone close to you is anxious, your chest feels tight. If they're angry, your nervous system feels on edge. If they're sad, your mood drops even if your own life is going fine. Without strong boundaries, INFJs can experience emotional overload, compassion fatigue, and burnout. Alone time, quiet environments, journaling, and creative outlets aren't luxuries for INFJs, they're emotional recovery tools. Learning to say, that feeling is theirs, not mine, is one of the most powerful emotional skills an INFJ can develop. 11. You have a rich inner world full of imagery and meaning. INFJs often have vivid inner imagery, symbolic thinking, and complex internal narratives. You might daydream, visualize future scenarios, replay conversations, or imagine alternate life paths in cinematic detail. This isn't escapism in a childish sense, it's how introverted intuition processes reality. Your mind works through metaphors, themes, and patterns rather than just raw facts. This is why many INFJs are drawn to writing, storytelling, music, art, film, and psychology. You naturally think in emotional narratives and hidden meanings. 12. You're extremely hard on yourself. INFJs often hold themselves to incredibly high internal standards. You want to be kind, wise, emotionally mature, productive, supportive, and self-aware, all at once. When you fall short, your inner critic can be relentless. You replay mistakes, feel guilty for setting boundaries, and judge yourself for not doing enough. This perfectionism is tied to both Faye, not wanting to hurt others, and NI, having a clear internal vision of who you should be. Self-compassion is not optional for INFJs, it's essential mental health maintenance. 13. You value authenticity more than being liked. While INFJs care deeply about harmony, you can't fake connection for long. Social masks, fake enthusiasm, and status-driven behavior feel emotionally draining. You'd rather have one real, honest conversation than 10 shallow, performative ones. You're drawn to people who are self-aware, emotionally honest, and open about their struggles. This need for authenticity can make it hard to fit into highly competitive or image-focused environments, but it also leads to deeply meaningful relationships built on emotional truth. 14. You need a lot of alone time to reset your nervous system. INFJs love people, but in limited doses. After socializing, you may feel mentally foggy, emotionally overloaded, or physically tired. Time alone helps you process emotions, organize your thoughts, and return to your natural state. Alone time for an INFJ often includes journaling, listening to music, walking in nature, watching meaningful films, reading about psychology, or simply sitting in quiet reflection. Without enough solitude, INFJs can become irritable, withdrawn, or emotionally numb. Protecting your alone time isn't selfish, it's psychological maintenance. 15. You're deeply fascinated by psychology and personality theory. If you've made it this far into a deep dive about INFJ personality signs, this one might already be confirmed. INFJs are naturally drawn to personality psychology, MBTI types, attachment theory, trauma healing, emotional intelligence. and human behavior analysis. You have a lifelong desire to understand why people think, feel, and act the way they do. But this curiosity isn't just academic, it's personal. Understanding psychology helps you understand yourself, your relationships, and your place in the world. Self-awareness feels like survival for INFJs. If you saw yourself in most of these signs, there's a strong possibility you're an INFJ, a personality type known for depth, empathy, vision, and emotional complexity. Being an INFJ isn't about feeling special. It's about understanding your wiring so you can stop judging yourself for needing depth, solitude, meaning, and emotional authenticity. You're not too sensitive. You're perceptive. You're not too intense. You're deep. You're not bad at small talk. You're wired for real connection. If this description felt like someone finally explained your inner world, you're not alone, even if you've felt that way most of your life. And if you want to explore more about INFJ strengths, INFJ struggles, INFJ relationships, and INFJ career paths, you're in exactly the right place.